finishing out their 4-day week. Just to give you some background about A+, the purpose of A+, they design their curriculum to increase rigor and engagement for all students, and they seek to increase access to AP and instructional rigor for underrepresented students. They train, support, and equip teachers on quality instruction, and they empower administrators to be strong instructional leaders. In the spring of '23, we applied for and received a grant to be part of the MS-TIP program, the Middle School Training Incentive Program, and that's designed to increase student achievement and rigor for middle school students to help them get ready for AP courses at the high school level. And in turn, we have seen that impact our data, our ACAP scores I'll talk about in just a second, but we've seen that affect us now, and it's been a great thing. Our teachers attend a 4-day training in the summer. Some went in July, some are going today, and some went in June. They get 4 days of training. During the year, they do vertical team meetings, instructional rounds, they go to fall workshops, and they implement and analyze student surveys. By doing that, they also get incentives and stipends from A+, so up to $500 they can earn just by doing that. In the fall of the 7th grade year, we administer the PSAT 8-9 to 7th grade students. That's the baseline score. And if you're familiar with the PSAT, it's part of the College Board program, which the National Merit Program is part of. So this gets them into the College Board network to get access to resources so that when they get to high school, they're a little ahead of the curve when it comes to national merit qualifying. So last year, our 8th graders fell just a little bit short of our growth goal. So we set out to meet it this year. Our growth goal was 60 points. That's 1 year's growth. We surpassed that with a 70-point school growth indicator this year. And because of that, we were named an A+ School of Excellence. We'll be recognized at a state board meeting this fall. Our teachers earn an additional $500 because we met our school growth goal. All students who either met the growth goal or benchmark in both reading and math earned a $50 Visa gift card. We had 120 students to do that, so that's $6,000 that A+ is going to provide. Just to give you some more information about the grant, in year 1, our teachers earned in their pocket $11,450 from the grant by doing the vertical rounds and the vertical team meetings, instructional rounds, and the trainings. This year, with those incentives and the $500, A+ will be giving $31,450 to our teachers. That is in pocket. So over 2 years, that's $42,900 that the grant has awarded in pocket to our teachers. On top of that, they provide classroom supply funds. So every teacher who does the 4-day training and signs the LOA gets an additional $300 of classroom supply money. Science teachers get $400. So in 2 years, they've also provided $20,400 in classroom supply funds for our teachers. So for teachers to have access themselves directly to that $64,300 in 2 years that the grant has provided. On top of that, the grant pays for the registration or covers the registration for the training. Training is $1,000 a person. So in 2 years, that's $63,000 that the grant has covered. In addition, when they do the fall workshops, the grant pays for the subs for the teachers to go. So there's another $7,500. So in total, with all of that and the student money, in 2 years, the grant's provided over $140,000 to our school. The growth is also reflected in our ACAP scores. When we got them back this year, we were very excited to see growth in both reading and math. We saw our math, we have over 100 students that are level 4 now. 100 students over level 4, so we're very proud of that. Our weighted growth proficiency is over 100%, and so our projected report card score for this year, we're looking to go up anywhere from 3 to 5 points from where we were last year, and all of this is tied together. So I really believe in A+. It is who we are. It's a unifier for our school. It's a common vocabulary that our school, that our faculty talks about. It's about good teaching. It's about good rigor. And I really do think it also had a very important part in us being named a school of character, both at the state and national levels. So I want to thank you for your support of this partnership. We've got 1 more year with it. Then we'll talk about being a partner school after that, if that's a possibility. But thank you to the board for supporting this initiative, and we're looking forward to another great year of it.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for your leadership at that school and for applying to be a part of the A+ program. And it's just been just heartwarming to see the direction that Northridge Middle School has been going the last couple of years. Thanks to you and faculty like Ms. Thomas and everybody pulling the ship the same direction, or however that term goes. It's just been, I just thank you for everything you put into that school.
Thank you. I'm very proud to be a JAG. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Randy, I mean, your leadership and vision at that school has made a huge difference in a short period of time. And, I mean, we see it, obviously, not only smaller things, but the big things, like these awards that y'all are winning, but it's the small things that matter too, and we see those as well, and we're very proud of your work at Northridge Middle, and just keep it up.
Thank you.
One thing that, one of the hardest thing to do is take a student body such as you have, and how do you keep pushing them? How do you keep elevating? How do you keep going forward? It's almost like the winning mentality. You don't rest on your laurels at all. You keep pushing the envelope further, and so that's what I like to encourage you to keep pushing the envelope forward, as you all have done continuously. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you for the great job you've done with this. And this is just exciting for you and the whole staff. It makes sure the whole staff know that we really appreciate it. But my question is, we send people to go to a lot of different conferences, the mega conference, what you got? What'd you go to?
Model school.
Model school and everything, but how do we take this that's happening at one school and come together and help train other schools and other middle school teachers and principals how to move forward on these things so that we can do some of that internal training and how well that do. I know that's something that, Dr. Pope and Dr. Dare and all of y'all work in the principal meetings, but we just got to be able to, everybody needs to have that mindset. It can't be the exact same mindset, and every middle school can't be the same, but some of the good things we need to bring and make sure that we're sharing those things so that we can have our system look like that. And that's what I think it'd be great if we could do somehow.
So I've had conversations with Dr. Atkins and Ms. Peoples, and we want to spend more time with each other, and we want to share back and forth, and it's something we've talked about in my mid-year and annual reviews, and it's something that we do want to take to others. We actually have some teachers that have gone this summer and are being asked to be trainers for A+ going forward, and so we can have some discussions about what they have to offer. I believe that the grant is open. It's every year. They have 3-year cycles, and so the grant's open, so it could be something to consider for other schools to apply for. That's where the incentives come in, but it's also open to schools who want to do it on their own. And so I'd love to find ways to partner with our middle schools, because it really is about good teaching. Ms. Thomas went back in June, and she's just been going on and on and on about the training she got, and it was more about, they actually spent time with 6th through 12th grade to talk about what we're preparing them for, because that's something else we don't do enough of, is we teach what we teach, but do we know what we're getting them ready for? And so we want to do more vertical team meetings with us in Northridge High School, also with the middle schools. But it's really about good teaching, because it's the same standards for every classroom in the state. It's how you present it, how you teach it, and whether or not you're connecting with your students. And that's one of the first things we want to do, is get to know our students and build relationships. And then when we have good teaching to go on that, this is what happens.
Just with with choice being a big issue in the state of Alabama, we just have to figure out how we can make those things so that our system is a system of choice. So that no matter where we go, that we're sharing that information. And that's going to be important for the future of our system, particularly the way funding and stuff is going here in the near future.
Right.
That we got to tighten the buckles everywhere. But we really appreciate the wonderful job you and the staff over there are doing.
Thank you. Very proud of our faculty and staff and our whole community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rainey.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is public comments. No one has signed up tonight. Item 7, sir? Item 7, informational reports. 7A will now receive the 2024 to 2025 end-of-year athletics report from Mr. Hurd. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members. It's always a pleasure to be here, and especially when we're talking about athletics. Whenever we start talking about athletics, the number one thing when we talk about winning, with me, it starts with academics, because we want to make sure that our kids are taking advantage of every academic opportunity that we have. The next thing we talk about is character, making sure that our kids understand how important it is to do things the right way all the time. And I always feel like if we take care of 1 and 2, that athletic component will take care of itself. I think, let me thank the board for the support for athletics, because typically the way that we do things here in the Tuscaloosa City Schools is not done in a lot of districts. So the support for athletics is unbelievable, and we want to make sure that we're being good stewards of what you're giving us and that we are producing good student athletes on the field. We'll start here with our athletic report, and I want to say we had a good year, and we were very competitive in some areas. In other areas, we were not as competitive, and that's the one thing that, as an athletic director, when you look at things, of course, we want to win championships every day, but sometimes programs ebb and flow, but we want to make sure that our student athletes are competing and that they understand how important it is that every time we go out on the field or the court or whatever, that we're competing. We know that we are in a tough situation because typically a city this size, you don't have 3 6A programs competing against each other, but competition is good. We're fortunate to be here. We're going to go ahead and start here. On the cover of our report, we see Bryant boys basketball, which is the 6A high school state champions, and it's amazing how we started that process and how we ended going into that game as an underdog, and the way that we played in that championship game really showed the true character, I think, of Tuscaloosa City Schools and Bryant High School. We'll touch on our learning targets here. I won't go through everything, but I'll touch on those points and highlight those points that are important here. Athletics year in review, of course, we'll talk about the high school programs and middle school programs, our numbers and where we are as far as participation, how we're competing. Of course, we'll talk about how we've competed in the Special Olympics, which we kind of had a flip-flop this year, but we're very competitive with that. We'll deal with the current state of where we are now and what we have in place, and look at what we're going to have in place for 25-26, and then look at those future enhancements of what we want to do down the road. Starting with Central High School here, we're up 2 athletic scholarships. We will have 8 athletic scholarships awarded this year, and it's very important to understand that now when you have athletic scholarships awarded to high school students, but the way that the landscape is with college athletics, you don't find many schools actually signing kids to 4-year colleges. So we're up 2 here at Central this year from 6 last year. Girls flag football, again, has been consistent, advance to the playoffs, and I don't know, want to make sure everybody understands, when we started flag football 4 years ago, we had the very first young lady to sign a scholarship in flag football in the state of Alabama. She went to Florida Memorial College, and she's doing well there. Track, boys and girls track at Central is progressing. We did a good job at the state championship meet. One person to note, Marika Trone is our 6A individual champion in the indoor and outdoor shot put. So she is a double champion, and she dominated that. She actually signed this year. Northridge High School, 14 athletic scholarships. We're down from 20 last year, but we know how that goes. Boys track, 6A track runner-up this year, which we're really close there. William Nunham is the person, indoor and outdoor state championship in the pole vault. Whenever you can do it indoor and outdoor, that's always special. Of course, Mr. Stevenson is 1,600-meter mile champion. And of course, we had the girls 4x100 relay championship team. And you'll look at the teams that advance to the playoffs. We're very competitive at Northridge High School, so we want all our programs to be very competitive. Paul Bryant High School, we're up from 4 to 6 athletic scholarships awarded this year, which is really good. Of course, we'll reiterate the boys 6A region champions and state champions. Indoor and outdoor track competed very well. Also, another double champion, Jamar Bankhead, 6A state champion in the discus and the shot put. And of course, in terms of the state basketball, Javian Williams was the 6A state tournament MVP at 5'5". That's why I tell people size doesn't matter all the time. We had a 5'5" point guard who was the state MVP, and King Larkin, of course, was the regional MVP. Our middle schools were very competitive. We had Northridge Middle winning 4 city-county championships. Eastwood Middle won the 7th grade boys basketball championship, and of course, the West Lund girls were the runners-up in the city-county basketball tournament. So we have representation from all of our middle schools. We're continuing to get better. And one thing I talk to my middle school ADs about and coaches about is that we have to do a little better job of recruiting our halls because we want to increase our numbers of participation at the middle school level. Now with our Special Olympics, this year we had a little bit of a flip-flop because last year our basketball team won first place and this year they won second place. And our volleyball team won second place last year, but this year they won first place. But I think the beauty of this is how we host the number of student athletes for Special Olympics here. You can look at the numbers, 75 gymnastic athletes and over 420 track and field athletes. And of course, participation is very important, and that is something we always talk about, participating in Special Olympics, where we gave out ribbons to everybody who competed. Looking at the numbers here, and the one I want to look at here, and I'll touch on percentages a little bit, you'll better hear. When we talk about academics, this year we improved in academics in our senior athlete GPA this year, and that's the number one thing we talk about, when our senior athletes can have the type GPAs that we have here. Also, we're looking at the number of scholarship recipients there. In talking to local ADs around the state, typically the numbers for districts are about less than 20 receiving 4-year scholarships. So we're above the curve there. I think we're down from two or four last year. But to have high school seniors signing 4-year scholarships that's really something that's great at this point. And we'll talk a little bit about how we're trying to improve and getting better with that. So in terms of percentages here, we're right at about 49.93. So we're about 50%. Half of our students are participating. And the national average is about 45% of the number of students who participate in athletics. So we've been last year we were right at about 50.1. So we're right about 5 out of 10 students participating in athletes. We would love to have more students involved in athletics, but 5 out of 10, right at about 50%, we're in good shape there. Again, those GPAs. Team honors are things such as regional champions, area championships. Central was the only team that did not have a team honor, that's kind of how I look at the state champions, region champions, area champions, and the percentages of our student athletes our senior athletes who are receiving scholarships there. But 49.93 is really above the curve in the percentage of students who are participating in high school athletics. Here's a breakdown here by gender. We're looking at the number of male, female, and the total student athletes. Again, our numbers are in good shape there in terms of our high school participation, and even our numbers are up when I get to middle school. I'll kind of talk a little bit about that. Our middle school programs here, if you give you a look at the numbers again, I'll talk a little bit more about percentages, but our number, we're right at about almost 30% for middle school in terms of participation, 3 out of 10. Last year we were about 4 out of 10, so we dropped just a little bit, but we want to work to try and get to at least 40%, 4 out of 10 students at the middle school level participating in athletics. So right here, percentage-wise, the number of middle schoolers who participate in athletics, we're right at about 22.94%. So we need to kind of raise that a little bit. Ebb and flow sometimes with middle schools in terms of the number of students that participate, but our coaches are actively recruiting the halls to raise those numbers for middle school. Current state here, these are some of the things that we have in place here now for this year. Of course, we have the upgraded equipment, and we have the video boards and the lighting. We've added some more technology to our field houses. The thing that I want to talk about a little bit is that we partnered with Ms. Wallace at UA to make sure that our student athletes have nutrition and are eating better in terms of our spring and fall sports. We want to make sure that our student athletes are nutritionalists, eating the right nutrition so that they can maximize their performance. I remember being an athlete, and sometimes we didn't always eat the right things to maximize our performance. So in terms of pregame meals, in terms of the types of smoothies and things that they're getting now in our spring nutrition program, partnering with UA, it's really helped our program, and our coaches are really thankful for that. Also, if you've ever watched NFHS, you kind of know how that camera is all over the place. So we want to thank you guys for helping us with that. The focus cameras from Huddle, which are really tight, and they are give you a better picture. So this is the biggest thing with the Huddle focus camera. As a football coach, I remember spending hours and hours of breaking down film and doing things like that. Now, when that football game starts, this Huddle focus camera cuts those clips, so by the time that coach gets in the locker room after the game and pushes a button, in 30 minutes he has all of his breakdowns, all of his statistics done, so he can spend more time with his family and at home. So we wanted to really make sure we had those coaches really enjoyed those this year. Also, with GoFan, we were able to start our digital where you can take cards at our concession stands now. So that's a part of our GoFan package, and all of our high schools actually participated in that this fall. Okay, for 25-26, we're looking at continuing to upgrade our technology here. We talked about NFHS is coming in to redo all of our cameras in the next couple of weeks. And I asked, tell me what the difference in the NFHS camera. They said it's going from like a iPhone 12 to iPhone 16. So even our NFHS subscribers who are watching it from the NFHS perspective will get a clearer view with that camera. One of the things that we'll have this year that's already started in the spring, the TCS Instructional Coaches Clinic. Had a good friend, Grady Brown, who's a defensive back coach for the New Orleans Saints, came in June and did a clinic for our football coaches. And that was really informative for them. They got a chance to really pick his mind, and he dealt with all 6 of our football programs. And we started with football, but I want to bring in somebody every year to do an instructional clinic for our coaches to ask questions so that we can continue to get better. That was good for us. And of course, I've been looking at possibly with the digital ticketing system right now, it's moving forward with now being able to get money, percentages back for number of tickets sold. So there's a couple of companies out there that are giving you 15% back if you sign up for a district, or giving you $1 back for every ticket sold. Moving forward, we're looking at how can we make money for our digital ticketing system. So I'm looking at that possibly moving forward. Some of the long-term enhancements we had, one of the things that I get some complaints about is sometimes our technology at our stadiums is not where it needs to be. So if we're going to improve in technology, we need to make sure that we have the type Wi-Fi and we can access everything at the stadium. So we're looking into a plan to really just implement a Wi-Fi capabilities and increase our network reliability at our stadiums and our gyms to make sure that if we're going to use a digital ticketing system and you show up with your phone, that we're able to access and get you in the game without having the issues that we're having. And that's something that we're looking at doing. Of course, we have to refurbish Central Track, but also we're probably going to have to touch up some of the other tracks as well, because track and field is one of the sports that we really get much better at across the board. I mean, we really had a lot of participation at the state meet, and we actually are getting better at that. Of course, we got a grant in to help replace the bleachers, and these are some of the things. Of course, our high school stadium, at some point, we're going to go back and revisit the video boards for the football stadiums, because we know that that is a true revenue generator, and that's something that we want to make sure we get in place. So I partnered with a young lady in terms of the fundraising and development for that, and we kind of tabled it because of the situation that we're in this year, but we're looking at going full forward to make sure we can have our video boards up at our high school football stadiums. That's all I have. If there are any questions, I will certainly answer those.
I have a couple, one, if we go back to the high school programs, percentages and everything, for years, in High School Athletic Association do not count cheerleaders as a sport. In our numbers, when you were doing percentages of girls and boys, particularly in the middle school, did we count? What did we do?
Well, we don't, because I've had conversations with the High School Association. Although we support cheerleading, it's not considered a sport because they don't compete week in and week out. And we've had that conversation many times, and I know that the cheerleaders say that they are a sport, but in terms of the NFHS and the High School Association, because there's not a true competition level, that they're not a sanctioned sport through the Alabama High School Association.
So their numbers are not included in
Right,
the percentage of the girls
Right,
versus.
their numbers are not included because the high school association does not sanction cheerleading as a sport because of the competition level. They say, of course, they compete at the end of the year, but they define competition as week in and week out competition within the sports that they actually sanction.
Yeah, and you know, I just, when you look at that percentage and you look at the percentage of girls, that would really boost our numbers in a different way. It would be interesting to know, even though you can't officially do it, what would that percentage and number be?
Well, that'll definitely raise our percentages. We have a number of
And I
children.
know we couldn't use that as far as athletics, but I'd just like to know that we have, when you look at that 22% in the middle school, and you look at the percentage of, the girls,
Right.
you put that percentage in there, and that number changed tremendously. And I know we can't, we gotta.
Well, I think what I can do is I can put an asterisk. I'll put the cheerleader numbers in there and then put an asterisk that although it's not a sanctioned sport, in terms of the number of females who participate, that's something that I can do. That won't be a problem. And it will boost those numbers because
That
we
will
do.
boost the numbers, but then, we know where we're going. And, because, there are only so many sports that we do that have female. You have the
Right.
track, you have the basketball, you have the flag football and everything. But it's gonna be hard for us to change some of those numbers
Right.
because of young ladies. But it shows that we do have them participate because my daughters was cheerleader, and man, you still a parent. You gotta go every weekend.
It is a sport. It's
You
just
know,
not sanctioned by the
and
association.
you raise just as much, if not more money for them as you do for a regular athlete. So that whole thing is, it's not,
But then I know
we at the mercy of the athletic association.
we're going to the conference on the 21st to the 25th, so they always will kind of let us know what new sports are coming out. And one thing that I'm always looking for is what female sports can we possibly add? Because we know at some point Title IX is going to come back down the pipeline. Right. So just like with girls flag football, whenever we have an opportunity to add a female sport, that's something that we look to do to kind of balance off those numbers. Absolutely.
Right.
Yes,
Well,
ma'am.
I know we don't have a pool, but, hey, I figured you're wondering about swimming. Like, what do the system see that in our near future?
Well, actually, we kind of do club swimming through Northridge. So we actually have swimming, but we need to find coaches who are in place to offer that at the other two high schools. So it's something that we can do. The thing is to make sure that we have practice facilities, and we typically will compete on the road, but we need to just make sure we have some things in place with coaches and then how we're going to practice and how we're going to move forward with the other schools. But we all can do a club situation in swimming now is kind of what we do and compete through your school, sort of like an unattached situation, how we compete in swimming right now.
I'm just trying to get the pool involved. That's it. It ain't even.
And I'm gonna lean,
That's why they laugh.
and I'm gonna lean forward and look that way and throw another stone, I still think that bass fishing has gotta get in there sometime or another because I looked at the scholarships that those kids that are our city's sports are making. You think they work, what is that, what we paying the football, what does you call it, you pay the football players?
I didn't hear you, sir.
NIL, man, they doing fishing is making just about as much as some of them jokers doing in there.
Well, actually, in our AD's meeting, we talked about bass fishing, and we do have, Northridge is very interested, so we're looking to find coaches and sponsors of the other two schools that we can possibly look at adding that as a sport, because it's already sanctioned by the association, and we have some people who want to do
Every time we bring it up, they start talking about them boats. We have enough people in town that could donate us a boat.
it. And we really have opportunity to do bass fishing, but we just need to find the sponsorship for it. But also, we've added girls wrestling, which, we need to make sure that we can get the participation in girls wrestling. And I think we're looking at making sure we can really populate the sport, but I think that's one of those sports too, at the middle school level, sometimes it's tough for them to start at the high school level, but we do have it in place. We got to do a better job of recruiting young ladies to be involved in girls wrestling at the high school level.
And I'm gonna ask one last, go ahead, Simmons, I'm sorry, you finna say something? One last question. You know, these LED boards, did the sponsors just flop out on us? Went nowhere, you know, our two refreshment vendors, it just didn't work. I'm asking that question. Did they just go?
Well, one thing that I did, I brought in a young lady to help us with that development part. So we're actively looking to find more sponsors who can help us with, you know, the things that we need with that. So that's something that I
Them two
think,
big ones we were looking at, they didn't come through?
right.
Okay.
So I think that'll be improved this fall because we are working actively to find more sponsors for that, yes.
Okay. All right, Simmons, I'm through. I'm not gonna say nothing else about this.
How do we, when we go through physical education programs throughout the system, starting from, K through eighth grade, how do we manage to incorporate some of those lesser known event sports? You mentioned girl wrestling, flag football, bowling, and the list goes on. How do we kind of push I guess essentially be a curriculum for our physical education teachers to kind of allow those children to push in those kind of areas, so you can kind of identify, what's coming through the pipeline, because, it kind of, disturbs me, I guess you can say, when we go to some of our schools and we see the kids out in the field just walking around in circles, or just walking around the track, or walking around the field for no apparent reason other than walking around.
Well,
Or just sitting in a classroom. How do we kind of, and this may be a rhetorical question for now, but something that we should think about, but how do we get them from where they are now to having an elite style physical education program that allows more rigor, that allows more of a higher standard, more of a push to get to those projects that we don't see? And I say that to say this now, and this is just because I know what's going on here. My daughter is currently doing a flag football camp at West Lawn. She's the head coach for Central girls flag football team. And the specifics of the camp is middle schoolers. So while she's been over there, there's just been kids in the neighborhood walking around, and she just took it upon herself and said, hey, want to play flag football? And invite these kids to the camp, which is free. And these are children who never touched a football per se, or never even thought about it. They were coming out in jeans and things like that. But at this point now, you all are looking at like, is this the same kid I saw, 3 practices ago? It's almost like a total transformation. And so you can identify what's coming up through the pipeline because they've been actively recruited. But if they hadn't done that in their PE class,
right.
there's no exposure. How do we turn the light bulb on to our coaches to say, either we make them part of their job, or we evaluate them as part of their job, or just tell them, say, hey, you're not doing a great job. It's touching on these different things that we need to push on. And there's no communication from one level to the next. That's 80 questions in one, but
I think that you're on to something, which is what we discussed in the AD meeting. The landscape of PE has changed at the middle school level, but one thing that our coaches and our ADs have to do at the middle school level is we have to start competing and doing those type of things at the middle school level, those sports, and then having the skill test. And our coaches have to identify those kids who have potential to get them in the mix, because we know you can't really play sports until the 7th grade at the middle school level. But we need to, in PE, our coaches need to be actively watching those kids to see who has some potential and to kind of recruit them in so that when they get to a point where they can't participate in the middle school, we need every kid who has some ability to participate. And one thing I always say, a lot of kids don't want to play sports initially. And some of our best student athletes have never wanted to play. But until we as coaches start saying, hey, try it, you have some ability, just come out and just see if you like this, and then get them interested in it. But at the middle school level, our PE, we have to kind of change things up a little bit, because you see a lot of kids don't really participate in PE anymore. So a lot of times we can't see those athletes, but we have to get them participating in PE so we can identify them. And I said, our coaches, you have to recruit your schools for every athlete who has potential to play. So you're absolutely right. There are a lot of athletes walking around. A lot of them claim they don't want to play, but you know what? Sometimes as coaches, we know what's better for you than you do at this point. So we have to convince them to just give it a try. And once that competitiveness gets in them and they see that that's something they could possibly be good at, then we probably can increase those numbers and get the visibility and see those kids and get them recruited before they get to the 7th grade to be interested in those middle school athletics.
There's a fifth grader that she recruited, fifth grader, just as a tall young lady.
And also we partner with the Y so we can get them involved at the Y participating so we can get them participating. And then when they get to 7th grade, then we can pull them up and they can participate at the middle school level. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the one thing about athletics is that whenever I have my meetings with ADs and coaches is that we can never get comfortable because it's always about getting better. And to me, it's like when you win, you want to win more. You want to get better. So every year we have to compete and get better. And I said, you can't get comfortable. We have to compete. We have to get better every year.
They're good at identifying basketball and football players. We're missing the mark there.
The traditional sports, most of the kids play, but there are a lot of kids who would be good in the non-traditional sports as well. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, Mr. Hurd, thank you. Excellent report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 7B will now receive the financial reports for October 1 through April 30th from our CSFO, Mr. Jay Duke. Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, superintendent.
Good evening, sir.
Appreciate the opportunity for another tour up here to go over the financial statements for the month of April. This is the 7th month of our fiscal year, and we will start with the tax reports. Property tax is winding down, and you see a low number there in April, which is expected, as most of the property taxes are collected in the fall and January and February. But we are going to be close to our budget and probably over. Car tag tax was slightly up this month compared to the same month last year. And again, we are on target to hit our budgeted amount in car tag tax. I'm going to go ahead and go to sales tax because I want to spend just a couple minutes on sales tax tonight. And so here's our sales tax report, and it's slightly down, almost the same, $3,000 down on $1.8 million compared to the same month last year. But you see that flattening off, and what you also see is if you look down there at the bottom right where you see the arrow that says compare, we've now drifted below year-to-date, same period last year. That's going to tie into this next slide or two I have, and this SSUT conversation that we've had before and we'll continue to have, and there's another agenda item related to that later on in tonight's board meeting, but that's the simplified seller's use tax. I'm going to go over the terminology just again to refresh you. That's the online sales tax. Simplified seller's use tax, again, online sales tax, internet sales tax, if you will. And so I took the SSUT tax that the city government gets and the county government gets, not the school systems, because we don't get anything. But I took their growth rate in SSUT tax versus the previous slide that you just saw on sales tax. In other words, our brick and mortar sales tax, that's all we get. We don't get internet sales tax. You can see that gap there. That gap, let me translate those. Those are percentages up there. That translates into about $5 million a year that we are not getting. I'm going to say that again. $5 million a year that we are not getting because we are not getting anything from the SSUT tax. Chris, if you'll go to the next slide, we get zero from internet sales tax. This will get to I think the state superintendent, I think he used the word at some point, this will get to a crisis level for some systems because we are not right now mechanically or legally or legislatively, we're not in the arena on simplified seller's use tax. I'm going to keep moving for now, but we'll continue to talk about this SSUT for some time until we can get that rectified for our school system. Our general fund management report, our target's 58% on our expenditures. We're below that, so you see the 58.3% expenditure target, and you see 54.71 percentage spent. That's good in the red there, that 54.71. I do highlight there, you see the two little school buses there. We fully expected that. You've heard me talk about it. I think when we did the March financials, we bought 49 school buses in about a 60-day period, so in March and April. And that was a lot of money. So that was some of those there. You see that $3 million figure compared to the number to the right of it. The prior year's number was $611,000. So I wanted you to know why there was that big jump from $611,000 to $3 million. That's a big set of school buses that arrived. I'll keep moving on to the next slide. This is our monthly financial statement that we are required by law to send to the Alabama State Department of Education. This encompasses all of our funds, and so this is kind of a comprehensive look at the entire system. Again, we are slightly under budget on our expenditures at this point, so that is a good thing. Again, this is through April 30th, 7 months into our fiscal year. So I will pause there and be glad to take any questions.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Duke? Okay, thank you, Mr. Duke.
Great job.
Thank you.
You
All
know,
right.
I'm gonna say this here. You know, it gets better and better when you present this finance in the way you all do, because it's an understandable way that you all present. And, you know, at one point when I first started on the board, I hated this part of the board, you know, because they be calling them numbers out and be saying things and running through it so fast, you know, and even when we get the report, looking at what's printed or in the computer, it's always in an understandable way. I really appreciate that, because it used to be, you know, I think it used to be. Am I right, Simmons? I can't get an amen from my.
I appreciate that. That's a high compliment, because us accountants kind of live in our own little world. For you to say that is very much appreciated.
Thank you.
That was just a nice way of saying it was a piece of crap. But now it's beautiful.
Thank you for those kind words.
All right, moving right along. Item number 8, introductions of motions, resolutions for a first reading, of which there are none. Brings us to item number 9, the consent agenda items 9A, 9B, 9C. Board may have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Those items will be approved. Item 10, regular agenda items for final adoption. 10A, approved superintendent's recommendations regarding changes in personnel. Dr. Cameron, good evening, sir.
Good evening. I have the superintendent's recommendations regarding changes in personnel. I also have a supplemental list. I will go through both with you, starting on page 1. You have 1 retirement, 5 resignations, 2 new certified personnel, 2 transfer of classified personnel, 4 reassignments, and 3 summer learning academies. On the supplemental list, you have 6 resignations, 6 new certified personnel, 1 declination, 3 new classified personnel, 2 rehire of certified personnel, 1 rehire of administrative personnel, and 10 part-time extended day tutors.
Okay, board members, are there any set-asides for a separate vote? Last call for set-asides. Hearing none, board may I have a motion to approve.
Second.
Questions, discussion by number, please?
13 on the blue
On the supplemental list?
supplementary list. Did they go somewhere else, or?
They said it's for personal reasons, for the health of a family member, they're having to unfortunately decline the position.
Number 4 on supplemental.
I think she's going to the University of Alabama with the Access program.
No more, you know what, no more look at it. Just excited about number 1. Excited about number 10. That's all I need to say. Excited for everybody.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Those will be approved. Thank you, Dr. Cameron.
Yes, sir.
10B, discuss approve 2025-2026 CNP faculty staff visitor meal increase.
Unfortunately, I'm the bearer of bad news. We need to go up on our prices for our employees for breakfast and lunch, and for our visitor prices for breakfast and lunch. This is due to the expected increase in values with commodities, and therefore the increased with reimbursement rates. But we think if we do this with this amount, perhaps we will have to come back next year and do an increase as well. Remember, last year we came back at the same time and did the increase. We're hoping this fixes it at least for a couple of years.
All right, thank you, Dr. Cameron. Board may have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Be approved. Thank you, Dr. Cameron.
Thank you.
10C, discuss approve student participation in the Ronald Reagan All-American Leadership Program. Dr. Pope, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Board. So through our partnership with the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California, we were afforded the opportunity to send 3 of our students to participate in the Great American Leadership Academy at Pepperdine University. So this discussion and approval is asking basically for our students to attend this weekend, starting July 12th through July 15th. We're sending 1 student from each high school to attend, all expenses paid for, and they'll get a chance to do simulation activities. They'll go through listening to different speakers, but the whole part about it is learning history and learning how to be kind, understanding great citizenship, and it's just a great opportunity for our students. Any questions?
Board may have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Questions for Dr. Pope?
Who accompanied them?
As of now, no one. I meet with the parents on Thursday at 11, the kids and the parents, and from that meeting, we'll make a decision on who will go with them, or if anyone will go with them. I want to find out, is this their first time flying, those different things. So Thursday around 2, we'll know where we're going. They leave Saturday morning from Birmingham, and then they come back on Tuesday.
And it's 1 from each high school who's going this year?
The selection, they first called me and they gave us 2 slots, but since we have 3 high schools, I asked for a 3rd slot as well. Well, Northridge person had to back out for personal reasons. So only Central High School and Bryan High School we represented this year. Next year, we'll have all three. But because of short notice, they were doing something with debate. She had several different things, events going off at Northridge. So when she called, that student was not able to fulfill the obligation because of personal reasons. So we're only sending two.
Sounds like an incredible program. I'm glad that we're participating.
Yes, ma'am.
Was there not a way to find a replacement?
Well, she was looking for one, and then the travel agent contacted me last Saturday to get everything booked, and the deadline approached, and Northridge could not find one at the time. So,
All right, any other questions? Call for a vote, all in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? That'll be approved. Thank you, Dr. Pope.
thank you.
Item 10D, discuss approved resolution authorizing attorneys for the City Board of Education to file legal action. Dr. Darius?
Yes, sir. Board members, this resolution is pretty self-explanatory. The request is for the board to approve this resolution so that the board's attorneys can file suit on behalf of the school system specific to SSUT. And this is in collaboration with the legal team in the city of Tuscaloosa. This would just be the first step in initiating legal action regarding SSUT.
Board may have a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Questions or discussion? Are any other municipalities or Board of Educations doing anything similar?
I don't have a direct answer on that yet. I do know that Mayor Maddox is hosting a seminar, if you will, and inviting citizens, superintendents, and others from across the state to kind of educate and inform what we're doing here and the impact that actually Mr. Duke just talked about earlier. So I don't know the answer to that yet, but we should know that in the next short period of time.
You see any
Darryl,
issues with it?
No, and I've had a good bit of experience in Montgomery with some of this, and I've had an opportunity to talk to some folks in Montgomery and some folks here that are involved, and I think the first point is that the city of Tuscaloosa is moving forward with this, with or without us, and our participation, our approval here makes sure that win, lose, or draw, that we will have a seat at the table. So I think it's something that we definitely need to do. Whether or not it'll be successful, I don't know. It's a very, very complicated issue. It has to do a lot more with the statutory construction of how these funds are collected and distributed, and it may not be as simple as filing a lawsuit. I know this is a very, very down and dirty discussion of it, but it may end up taking a lawsuit to bring the attention to it, and then lobbying work, and then something done at the legislative level if it's not successful. But this is certainly the first step, and I think it's the correct step to take. And I think if the city's going to be involved and we want a seat at the table, this is something that we definitely need to proceed with.
Okay.
there's rumors out there that there are some other municipalities and systems lining their things up.
Okay. All right. Call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Resolution will be approved. Item 11, unfinished business. We have none to attend to. General announcements. Student hearings next Tuesday.
If you could hold that date, we will not have student hearings, but we are hosting a job fair on the 10th. If we have candidates that we need to get on board early, we may ask to go ahead and keep that just for personnel.
Okay. And so the next regular board meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight, July 22nd. Does any board member have any general announcement?
Yes, general announcement. I'll be posting a picture of you two compare to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito.
Who's who?
Those in the 80s.
Yeah, who's
Y'all
who?
remember twins?
Who's Arnold and who's Danny?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Dang,
All right. We'll stand adjourned.
that was an important announcement though, Erskine.
Erskine, that may be the loudest I've ever slammed that gavel.